Right, so the disability minister brief has been binned by Rishi Sunak because the Tory war on woke now apparently requires a minister and there's no room for both. Who better to appoint to said new role than an MP already responsible for dumbing down people on a regular basis, daft enough to watch your show on GBeebies with her equally unpleasant Tory MP husband, the shame of Shipley Philip Davies, than Esther McVey, better known to people subject to the whims of the Department for Work and Pensions as Fester McVile, and for very good reason. So deeply unpleasant was she in that role that she ended up losing her seat in 2015 before being handed George Osborne's safe seat when he left Parliament in 2017, hence the reason we're stuck with her again. Of course, her official title role is Minister without Portfolio, but even the mainstream press haven't shied away from spelling out exactly what she's there to do, referring to her as the Common Sense Tsar. Well, that'll be the day. But to tell disabled people around the country that you don't matter, as this move does, downgrading the role, and in Disability History Month at that, just underlines how little the unelected economic obsessive Sunak cares for those with disabilities. Right, so I've done a number of videos recently concerning disability issues, long-term sick and disabled people. I'm an unpaid carer. This is an issue I very much take to heart. I take it personally. After 13 years of being abused to the point thousands have lost their lives, how can people like us, families like mine, not take it personally? How can you not be incensed by what has happened? And I take very little nonsense from people who bleat about people like that being shirkers or skivers, because anyone can have a life-changing event happen to them tomorrow, and the reality of the state of disability aid and care and how such people and their carers are treated by society and considered by government, well, it'll be a very big eye-opener to some who really need their eyes opened, won't it? But seriously, no matter what doubts you might have about how genuine you think some people are, surely you can understand the importance of the government of the day having a minister for disabled people. It's hard enough getting representation amongst MPs of disabled people. There are very few disabled MPs, there's a handful. People who truly understand what day-to-day life is like for their disabled constituents, without removing the role entirely, only to downgrade it and lump it in with the health and work remit, because all that shows is a desire by this Tory government, completely in line with the reforms Jeremy Hunt announced in the autumn statement, reforms, to get people working again, or else get them off their benefits if they can possibly manage it. It's what they've been doing for 13 years. It has been killing people, and it's got to stop. Compassion and common sense and an appreciation that they can't all work, or jobs they can do don't necessarily exist or pay well enough to live on. Also, without a minister dedicated to disabled people's interests, the ability of disabled people to help shape and have a say on disability policy is impacted upon too, as if it's not hard enough already. Bear in mind, 24% of this country are actually registered as long-term sick or disabled, according to the charity Scope. That's 16 million people that are being told they don't matter by the Tories. That's a lot of voters, potentially, if nothing else. There are all manner of complications associated with this, and I'm not saying they shouldn't be approached and overcome, or attempted to. That would be a good thing. But I am saying this bunch of Tory shysters are not doing that, nor have they ever done, and they certainly don't have any intention of doing. They clearly think it's a vote winner to just dismiss the disabled as less important, and equality is demographic as they are. And if that is winning your vote, then I completely despise you. Because it might be them today, but they'll come for you next. Underlining the tin-earedness of the move, though, is the fact Sunak has chosen to do this during Disability History Month of all times, which I doubt he's even aware of. It runs from the 16th of November to the 16th of December, and this came into being in 2010, coincidentally, along with the Conservatives' return to power. And little wonder it has grown to more and more prominence in that time, and as a theme each year. This year's theme having been disability, childhood and youth, and therefore the work involved has, as their website states, provides an opportunity for all councils, service providers, education establishments, youth, play and sports organisations, health providers and employers to examine their approaches to disabled children and youth. Those in the media, publishing and image making can challenge the way they have portrayed disabled people in the past and instead begin to create inclusive and non-stereotypical ways forward in conjunction with disabled young people. From a history of neglect, harsh punishment, segregation, bullying and ignorance, we must learn to challenge our prejudices and discriminatory practices. The way disabled children and young people have been and are treated is an indicator of how inclusive and rights-respecting we are as a community and society. Impairment is a natural part of human existence, but societal responses have varied across cultures and time. Disabled people, including children, have often been falsely blamed and scapegoated for society's ills. If one grows up on the receiving end of negativity, then one often internalises that negativity. Most important in bringing about positive change is how we think about impairment and disablement. It wouldn't have done the government any harm to have just read that and had a long, hard think about what they're doing, but that of course implies that they give a damn, which of course they do not. As the old Niemeyer poem goes, first they came for the disabled. Of course, promoting ignorance, the very opposite of Disability History Month, is also what the Tories do want, hence the brief being handed to Esther McVey. Wokeism is the enemy of the Tory, you see, but anyone attacking the concept of being woke is by definition being pro-ignorance. McVey being called the Common Sense Tsar is frankly hilarious given her gaffe-prone track record, because this is somebody who referred to pandemic lockdowns as communist, who attacked the disabled and sought to strip them of their money while calling claims about those cuts fake news. She herself, though, was happy to blow $8,000 on a photographer for herself when she had leadership ambitions. While she was trying to fast-track universal credit too fast, causing problems, she decided instead of taking responsibility for that to blame the National Audit Office instead. But they pulled her up on it and she was forced to grovel to the Commons and apologise. She's called food banks a good and decent thing and that it is right more people are using them. She's determined sanctions help people back into work, and she's praised the bedroom tax. She attacked poor people who can't eat for having phones, despite the department she was head of, notably universal credit claimants, needing phones to get the financial support they were claiming. Frankly, there is no wonder this woman lost her seat in 2015, and it really does show how talentless the Tories are that they handed her a safe seat, desperate as they were to get her back into Parliament. Gone are the days where the Tories could get away with this sort of crap, get away with whatever they liked, and the mainstream media covering for them, because we can find alternatives to them now, can't we? Those pesky independent outlets, how dare they counter our lies? And as more and more people wake up to the fact these papers have been dumbing them down for years, as their circulations fall, as more and more of us become critical of the likes of the BBC as well, the stranglehold of successive governments and their friends in the press had over what we got fed under the pretense of being news gets loosened more and more. It is so important that that continues, that we no longer have a billionaire-controlled press, but keep working towards a free and fearless one instead, telling us what we need to know rather than just what they want us to know. At the end of the day, though, this move tells us nothing new. The Tories have always hated the disabled, and they will carry on hating the disabled. Sunak is just inept enough to dot the I's and cross the T's on the matter. If you're disabled, you can't afford to vote Tory. That's just a fact. Thanks for watching. I hope you found this video useful. Please like, share and subscribe if you did. More content out daily. Please do have your say on this story in the comments below and be part of the conversation. Meanwhile, here's a video recommendation where the DWP is now so understaffed and underfunded, it's now verging on collapse. And I'll hopefully catch you on the next vid. Cheers, folks.